Welcome. I'm April Davila, founder of Sit Right Here, and this is First Page Fridays, where we look at first pages the way that agents do. This page was submitted anonymously by one of our viewers, so thank you, writer. And we use it to learn, all of us, to learn our craft in a safe, supportive space. So the way it works is I'm going to start at the top and just read it through. I haven't looked at it yet, so please forgive me in terms of mispronunciations. I'm doing my best. And then we'll come back up to the top and we'll start editing the way that an agent might if they could. Okay, so let's jump in here. A season for Morphos. Okay. At no time was Kingston ever quiet. It was always humming, even in its quiet moments. Amena Reynolds sat at her desk at Island Publishing, her gaze glued to the open manuscript in front of her, her mind blank. The words seemed to meld together, and the comfort of ink on paper had lost its luster. As if there was an invisible weight slowly compressing her chest. Her father was gone. The city, her sanctuary, now felt cumbersome. 1 minute, she's sorting through stacks of edited manuscripts, and the next, she's a puffy-eyed mascara-running mess who also happened to ruin her favorite cream blouse with an accidental coffee spill. Amena exhaled sharply and closed the manuscript, pushing it aside. The decision had been made, though she hadn't spoken it aloud yet. She could no longer pretend everything was fine. No amount of editing or coffee-fueled nights would dull the ache gnawing at her from the inside out. Amena, she looked up to see Priya, her coworker and closest friend, leaning against the doorframe. You okay? You've been staring at that manuscript for an hour. Amena forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yeah, just thinking. Priya crossed her arms. Thinking about quitting? The words struck her harder than expected. I know. How did you? Priya sighed, stepping closer. Because I know you, Mena. And I see it in your eyes. You need a break. You need to go home. All right. The thing I love right off the bat with this is that it really drops us right into scene. And there's conflict right off the bat that this person has a task literally right in front of them and they can't seem to do it. And of course, we learn that the trouble here is that she's grieving. Her father is gone. So I'm going to do a little bit of line break and paragraph formatting. I know to the writer, I'm sorry, I think our system actually when you submit it, puts everything in one paragraph, which is annoying. So to everyone else, please know that this writer probably did have paragraphs and they got lost in translation. At no time was Kingston ever quiet. It was always humming. So this actually seems like a complete sentence. Where's my mouse? Okay. It was, and then it was always humming, even in its quiet moments. Amena Reynolds sat at her desk at Island Publishing, her gaze glued to the open manuscript in front of her, her mind blank. The words seemed to meld together, and the comfort of ink on paper had lost its luster. This is not a sentence, as if, so I'm going to actually merge these into as if there was an invisible weight slowly compressing her chest. And then here I would go ahead and I might make a second paragraph. Her father was gone. The city, her sanctuary, now felt cumbersome. 1 minute, she's sorting through stacks of edited manuscripts, and the next she's a puffy-eyed mascara-running mess who also happened to ruin her favorite cream blouse with an accidental coffee spill. I mean, this lady is having a bad morning. Okay, so here I would probably... Amena exhaled sharply and closed the manuscript, pushing it aside. So, okay, so one of the things... we're in a weird phase with, writing where most of it is digital. And again, I love a story about a writer. The most writing is digital, but she's staring at the open manuscript in front of her. I'm not exactly sure if I'm interpreting that as the pages have been laid open or if it's open on her computer. And I wonder if there's a way to discern that, because when she closes the manuscript here, that's reading more as a laptop movement, pushing it aside. So I'm going to go with the assumption, since this seems like a modern day story, that this is on a laptop. Her gaze glued to the open manuscript in front of her. Let's say the open manuscript on the screen in front of her. On the screen in front of her. Her mind blank. Okay. Manuscript on. the screen in front of her. The words seemed to meld together, the comfort of ink on paper. And so then I guess the reason I was thinking paper is the comfort of ink on paper. As much as, oh, I love that, I feel it. If she's looking at the screen, then the ink on paper thing doesn't really land. So maybe you intended this to be paper. Okay, let's go with that. Her gaze glued to the open manuscript. The pages splayed out in front of her. The thing about this is that you will need to drop us some hints here pretty quickly if we go with the pages splayed out in front of her that we're in modern day. This is not a big issue, but just you'll want to, I don't know, give us a hint at some point soon that like she has a phone or I don't know, or if it is period and it's different. Okay, so the pages splayed out in front of her. The words seemed to meld together and the comfort of ink on paper had lost its luster, as if there was an invisible weight. And you might clean this up as if an invisible weight slowly compressed her chest. That's a little awkward. There was, I always feel like, so when, this is a trick I do sometimes, this piece is actually pretty close to done as far as I can tell. And one of the things I sometimes do when a piece is close to done is I'll actually search for the word was. And if I see it like 4 times in, 5 lines, I might just see like, is there a more compelling way to phrase any of these? You never want to try to get rid of was altogether, right? Like we know that it would just be awkward, right? Please don't do that. If this isn't your page, whoever you are as a writer, please never try to get rid of the word was. But if you notice that you're using it a lot, see if there's another way you could phrase something. At no time was Kingston ever quiet. And this is probably showing my ignorance, but like, I don't know where Kingston is. So I wonder if there is a way to highlight that in this opening. I mean, I should probably Google it, but I'm trying to stay in the like real-time experience of reading these pages. So maybe, maybe instead of talking about Kingston, like the city and the humming and the quiet moments, you might just go with like Amanda Reynolds sat at her desk at Island Publishing, her gaze glued to the open manuscript in front of her. The pages splayed out, her mind blank. Yeah, I like it. The in front of her earlier, her mind blank. The words seemed to meld together. And if you go with the what, like you cut 2 was's with that simple shift and you start us right with your main character, just an idea. Yeah, because see how like all of this, there are very few, there's only the one was. And our descriptions tend to land a little sharper. So for example, if you say the car was parked on the side of the road, it was a red Camaro. You could just say the red Camaro on the side of the road, blah, 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 blah. There are creative ways around the word was, and it often can make our writing more compelling. So we're going to continue on. Her father was gone. The city of Kingston, let's put it in here. Kingston, her sanctuary now felt cumbersome. I think you could go into a little bit more about like why the city might feel cumbersome, or because I feel like, again, this is like a zoom out to the city and then we're back into like editing the manuscript. Maybe the city needs to come later. That's my instinct on this of like, let's stay with her. Let's meet her. And then maybe when she like steps outside of her office to do whatever comes next in the story, that's when you could say Kingston had always felt alive and humming, even when in its quiet days it buzzed. But it was without her father, it was cumbersome. That kind of thing. Like, let's stay with her here. Her father was gone. One minute, she's sorting through stacks of edited manuscripts. The next, she's puffy-eyed, mascara-running mess, who also happened to ruin her favorite cream blouse with an accidental coffee spill. I like this, though it does seem like she's still editing manuscripts. So to say, like, 1 minute she's sorting through, well, I guess she was sorting through, and the next minute she's staring puffy-eyed, or do you see what I'm saying here? Of like, she's kind of still editing manuscripts. So maybe this is more about 1 minute. She's this would be a great opportunity to actually tell us a little bit about her. One minute she's a high-powered, ladder-climbing, stiletto-wearing badass bitch, and the next she's a puffy-eyed, mascara-running mess. So see, like keeping the thing that is changing similar. So tell us what it was before and what it is after, because the editing manuscript seems to be consistent. I'm gonna let you decide like who is this character, but this is a great opportunity to put description of her before dad's death here. Description. And the next, she's a puffy-eyed, mascara-running mess who also happened. I mean, I really like this description because it not only tells us that she's crying, right? But in a very visceral way. But the mascara, she's someone who wears mascara. And she has a favorite cream blouse. You might say cream colored. I'm going to leave it. Cream blouse with an accidental coffee. She's someone who drinks coffee. Like these are little things, but they start to paint a picture of who this character is. And it's very, it comes across as very effortless and like, oh yeah, this is just who she is. And I'm guessing this wasn't the first pass at this sentence because it is very skillful. And those things very rarely happen on accident. Amena exhaled sharply and closed the manuscript. And how are we doing this on paper? So she flipped she stacked the manuscript and pushed it aside. Let's just say she pushed the manuscript aside. Pushed the manuscript aside. The decision had been made, though she hadn't spoken it aloud yet. She could no longer pretend everything was fine. Now, I would say if it is on a laptop, then go ahead and have her close it. That's fine. But since I'm making the executive decision, which could be wrong, to make it on paper, we're going to have her push it aside. Now, she's made this decision. This is a great way to start a story. Like, she's made a decision, but she hasn't said anything about it yet. So we know as the reader that, like, there's something unresolved. And that's like catnip to readers. We kind of have to keep reading. We want to know. She could no longer pretend everything was fine. No amount of editing or coffee-fueled nights would dull the ache gnawing at her from the inside out. Amena, oops, wrong. Go back. Amena, she looked up to see Priya, her coworker and closest friend, leaning against the doorframe. You okay? You've been staring at that manuscript for an hour. Now, I wonder if there's some opportunity here. Like when she leans against the doorframe, could we get a sense of like her blue silk blouse or her blazer? Like I'm getting the sense that these are professional women. And if you could find a way to kind of just give a hint, even like, again, these details of like, is she a coffee drink? Is she holding coffee? Is she, you don't want to do anything that feels awkward. You want to do something that feels natural to the scene, but look for like, is there a way to give us a little hint about Priya? More will come. Just there's an opportunity there. You okay? You've been staring at that manuscript for an hour. Amena forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yeah, just thinking. Priya crossed her arms. Again, great. Like in the rustle of her silk blouse, something like that. Opportunity. Thinking about quitting. The word struck. And I'm going to say, I get a little lost. Like I'm assuming this is Amena, and this could just be a formatting thing. The words, and I would say Amena. Amena, harder than expected. How did you... Priya's side, stepping closer. And I like the past tense rather than the gerunds, like INGs. Priya's side and stepped closer. They feel more like a concrete unit of action rather than stepping closer kind of is more of a like, you don't know when exactly it starts or stops. Anyway, because I know you, Mena, and I think you got to capitalize Mena, even though it's a shortening of the name. Again, I say every time I am not a copy editor. I'm a line and developmental editor, but this is something you might ask a copy. And maybe the copy editors could jump in the comments below and let me know. By the way, this kind of editing is exactly what we do in my Path to Publication program. We take manuscripts that people are working on. You've started it, you have a good pass, but it's not quite ready to go out to an agent yet. We work you through the whole thing and we get you set up with your author platform. We help you find an agent. The whole goal of the program is to like get you out to traditional publication. So if that is something you're interested in, let me know. But back to this. Priya sighed and stepped closer. Because I know you, Mena, and I see it in your eyes. You need a break. You need to go home. This is great. This is really solid. Let's see. So we talked about kind of staying with Amena here, not going out into the city just yet. That can happen when she leaves Or you could have Amena like look out the window at the city if it's really important to you that that be front and center. But I think what you have here is a really powerful opening scene. I would look for some way to give a little more hint about Amena in terms of age and ethnicity, hair. What does she look like? I mean, we get these great details here, but I wonder if there's some way to start to drop some hints, even of like how old she is. Like just the way this strikes me. I'll just share with you. This strikes me as someone who's maybe early 30s, late 20s, has been working with her father and has lost her dad, clearly. If that's not, if that's right, then your pros are landing and it's totally working. If this is someone who's a little older or a little younger, you might look for ways to hint at the reader of this, of like, instead of maybe 1 minute, you could say, for the last 10 years, she'd been her dad's badass assistant, blah, blah, blah. Like, you might be able to get a little bit more of a hint in there. But in general, this is a really solid opening page. It drops us right into scene and introduces two characters, Amena and Priya, and, Dad, who we don't get his name yet, and that's totally fine. It doesn't really matter here. He's Dad and he's gone. And we get this part. This, I think, is such a wonderful, you're a couple paragraphs in, you're interested in the character, and then this big decision. She's made it, she hasn't said it, and as the reader, we want to know, how's it going to go for her as she starts to implement we don't even really know what this decision is yet, just like we get the sense that she's not going to be able to do her editing and her coffee field nights anymore. We don't know maybe she's decided she wants to be a pastry chef. Maybe so we don't know exactly what it is yet, but that's okay. That's the kind of not knowing that makes readers want to keep reading versus just confusion. So well done, writer. If this wasn't your page and you would like to submit a page for editing, there is a link in the bio. And if you are working on a novel and you would like this kind of focused attention on every page of your manuscript, reach out to me. Our Path to Publication program is 9 months. It's designed to take you from like a half-finished project to working with an agent to sell your book to traditional publishing. And I would love to talk to you more about it. So drop me a note and we'll go from there. Happy writing, everyone. I'll see you next time.